Daniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me, but I just got home off of an early morning flight, right? First thing through the door, I want to see my family. I love my family. You know, I'm a family man. I'm an advocate for families, right? Second thing, I got to get that hot shower because I got to throw the threads on. The threads make me feel like $1,000,000. But the third thing through my mind and all throughout the trip is that I got to have that Tej pack. Tej makes my life uncomplicated. It's uncomplicated skincare for men. The first way that I started specifically was their level 1 system. It's a daily face wash to get rid of the dirt and grime on your skin. 2 times per week exfoliating scrub to get rid of the dead skin cells. An AM moisturizer with SPF 20 because you should always be protecting your skin from the sun. And a PM moisturizer to help your skin stay hydrated and healthy throughout the night. Here's the thing. My favorite part about Tej Henley is that every box comes with an instruction card that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. They really making the process of achieving and maintaining amazing skin for men uncomplicated. In addition to amazing skin, members of Tej Henley get tons of benefits, including at least 20% off the retail price, the ability to customize your box, exclusive monthly deals, you can pause and cancel at any time, and you get free shipping. And because Tej Henley is sponsoring today's video, they're offering my viewers an amazing deal, right? Just click the first link in the description and you get 30% off your first box, plus a free gift. It's an amazing deal. You got to get started today. You're not out here trying to look like a dusty. And if you travel as much as I do, which I'm sure most people don't, but you know me, I'm pushing my bag chasers in order to be in the top 5%, top 10%, top 1%. We got to make our lives uncomplicated, and Tej Henley is no better product. You got to look good. You got to smell good. And you can't be looking like a dusty. Make sure you get started today. Click the link in the description. Get that Tej pack. Feel the Tej, my friends. What's going on? Is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank you for tuning in to the Millionaire Morning Show. This is the best part of my day. Every single day. This is the best part of my day. You know the other thing that I enjoy? The other big thing that I enjoy sending out paychecks. Yep. Every other week and then every month. For those of you that are on certain contracts and different people that work for me and things like that, I absolutely enjoy sending out paychecks. That is the best. It is no better feeling than to know that you can make sure that somebody else is leveling up, being successful, absolutely growing, and continuing to be the best version of themselves. It is no better feeling than that. So again, it is Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. Thank you guys for tuning into the Millionaire Morning Show. I absolutely love you and I adore you. Let me check into the chat and see what the word is. Good morning, beautiful disaster. What's happening, Alan? What's the word? What's happening, friends? Brock, Jay, Azriel, what's going on? Kojak, all of my friends. What's happening, friends? Are y'all welcome? Or are y'all ready to be welcomed into a phenomenal show like we do every single morning? A lot of people always asking me like, Anton, how do you come up with different ideas every day? Y'all know I don't pre-plan my stuff until the time that I wake up in the morning, and then I go through and I look at my DMs and my emails and stuff, and I see what the sentiment of the people is. This is your show. I'm just the one that's facilitating it. This is your show, ladies and gentlemen, and so I do want to make sure that I acknowledge you, that I appreciate you, that I show you love, that I show you how much I adore you. You guys are loved. You are appreciated, and everything that you do as far as either a view, a like, hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, a subscribe, a notification bell that you turn on, every super chat, every cash app, every single thing that you do that contributes to the growth of this platform, you are appreciated. So let me start off by saying that. I try to extend appreciation as often as I can because I am an equal accountability partner, and I have no problem whatsoever making sure that I chastise. That's the words for it. All right. So let me give you the cadence of what's going to go on with the show today. A few days ago, or what, was it like a week ago? I don't know. It was somewhere between like a few days ago and a week ago. somebody sent me a video that CNBC did on Detroit, right? And I thought that it was pretty interesting because they asked me if I was going to do a review or react to it. And at first I was on the fence about it because I know that people usually don't really understand exactly what's going on with the city. But I said, let me think about it. And if I'm going to react or review to something, I never watch it. And so I haven't watched it, but I did grab the video simply because I want to give an honest review. And I know that from the outside looking in, people have no clue of what's happening here. So when I see national media or people that, Urbex, I don't know if you know what Urbex is. I used to do Urbex way, way, way back when I used to go into different abandoned buildings and things like that. Urbex explorers and things like that. They come in and they look to make a name for themselves. So often at times they make it a lot more salacious than what it really is. But people really have no clue of what the city is like. So I said, you know what? This closely aligns with where it is that I'm going because I signed a letter of intent because we have to finish building out and developing the space as far as the new creative space that I'm creating in downtown Detroit. So my new offices and creative space is going to be in downtown Detroit. I evaluated the possibility of opening up in Atlanta. No go. I opened up the possibility of either going to Tampa or Miami, right? And so I decided that I want to stay home. And there's a lot of different reasons as to why I decided to do that. The first reason why I decided to stay home is because often at times we always highlight and champion where people are from, and everybody want to rep their city and where they live at and where they from, but they're not actually contributing to the economy at all. They not. But I'll get into that in a minute. So we're going to review that video about the rise, the fall, and then the future of Detroit. And I have not watched it yet, so I'm going to give an honest review. And then a wide receiver, how he spent his first $1 million. We're going to get into that. But before we get into all of that, let me get a little bit of the housekeeping out of the way. And then I want to give you guys my thoughts because I had a bad dream last night. But I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. So first and foremost, let me give an acknowledgement to Teach Henley. 30% off your first order plus a free gift. Uncomplicated skincare for men. Make sure you tap into the link in the description to make sure that you do that. It is absolutely a phenomenal product. Thank you, Teach Henley, for continuing to hold us down. And for you guys for supporting us by going to Teach Henley and doing the thing that's in your best interest. You support us. You support the platform. And we are absolutely positively killing everything. That's A. B, I have to acknowledge all of the people that support me, hold me down, and the people that are going to benefit the most, and that are the bag chasers. The bag chasers are the people that I'm going to be live streaming with this Saturday definitively because I got everything reviewed. I got all of the business plans. Everything is about to be submitted. And before I do that, I want to review that with you guys. So the bag chasers, I do want to acknowledge y'all because y'all doing work in that Discord. The Discord that's associated with the Patreon, killing it. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat if you want to rock with a group of people that's going in the direction that you're going in. We building businesses. We doing mastermind sessions. We gathering each other. We making sure we building a strong network. And we're going to be the who's who of what's happening in the business community. And we're going to show people. And let's be clear. We don't align ourselves with people based off of the color of our skin. We align ourselves based off of the fact that we are a group of people that all have great character, that's looking to do the best things for ourselves and looking to go in a certain direction. So if you're looking for a tribe of people, a real Wakanda, that people are gathering and then we doing awesome things together, link to the Patreon is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Make sure you follow me on all social media. That's in the links. That's in the description also. And if you need to kick it with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com and we're going to get that popping. We got merch coming. And I'm going to move all of that down into the office and the creative space once we move down there within a couple months. We got the merch coming. We got quality control here. So I am making sure that I'm vetting through every piece of machinery that we have going into this creative space because we have to make sure that we give people the best possible. The best possible. All right. So again, I want to tap in with y'all and just say I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I want to get into the show. Before we get into the show, before we get into this Detroit thing, and then we go into how I spent my first $1 million, I want to give you guys a little bit of insight because too many of y'all are trying to control your women. Hear me out. Too many guys are trying to control your women. Do you know that you can control your woman without even trying to control her? And this all comes back to the money, trust me. I've gotten so many different phone calls from different people that are having conversations amongst themselves and then bringing me their problems and saying, Anton, I'm trying to get this woman on board. She is overspending. I'm taking care of all of the bills, but then she thinks that she can be irresponsible as a result of it. This is what's happening. And, every month she goes out and she fumbles the bag. And then I have to make sure that I come up and I help her or whatever, or Anton, I'm starting to change my life and going in a certain direction and she won't get on board. And I keep trying to tell her and I keep trying to teach her and I keep trying to do all of this type of stuff, right? And I'm going to tell you if you want the whole shebang, you're going to have to make sure you contact me at Anton Daniels 413@gmail.com. I'm going to give you the blueprint as to how to communicate effectively with your girl, your wife, whatever it is that you want to call them, your boo, your main thing, your better half, whatever that is, I don't know. I'm going to give you a little bit of insight as to how I deal with this, right? And then we're going to jump right into the Detroit video. I don't have to do this anymore because I've already groomed my chick to be the way that she is. But the thing that y'all going to have to do is you're going to have to let her go. Let her go. Stop chasing behind this woman and trying to convince her to do something different because she's not. Communication has nothing to do with what you say. It has everything to do with what you do. You're going to have to let her fail. The more that you continue to beat a dead horse, the more it seems like your communication is off. Because women largely believe that communication is the things that you say. They can talk a whole lot, but it doesn't necessarily translate into anything because they like to feel. They like to feel good, right? But if you want to communicate more effectively, smile, enjoy the best of her when you're with her, and then let her fail. Stop trying to chase her and help her to understand what's best for her by telling her what to do. Just let her suffer. You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me. Listen, women listen when you do things, not by what you say. What you say is just the reinforcing of what it is that you're already doing. So if I'm winning, right, and then I'm going in a specific direction and I've already communicated it effectively, hey, what's up, babe? Listen, I think we should make sure that we tap down our spending a little bit because, listen, I'm trying to do this and I want to take care of this. And so these are the goals. And I know you want to do it, baby girl. Listen, I want you to have the best of everything. However, we're not going to be able to do that moving the way that we're doing it right now. So, what do you think about this? And you get her insight because you want her to feel a part of what you got going on. This is effective communication. I'm teaching you how to kick it with your chick, right? Dating is a process that happens once you get married or once you get into a relationship. Dating does not happen when you meet each other on Tinder. Dating does not happen when you talking to her at the bar and then you get her number and y'all talking on the phone. The dating process and the grooming process actually happens once you actually decide that this is the person that you want to be with long term. And so when you communicate and you want her to be a part of what you have going on, you don't want her to feel siloed. You want to bring her in. But once you give her that level of responsibility and the behavior hasn't changed and she going to do what she want to do whenever she want to do it, now you have to move a little bit differently. So you don't trip. Don't flip out. Don't go off. It's none of that because you have to maintain frame 100% of the time because stability is the foundation of what you are as a man in a relationship. What you then do is you remove yourself from the conversation with regard to what she's doing with her money and how she's moving. And she's going to think that you just not tripping and it don't make no difference. Let that chick get her car note 30 days past due. She want to continue to do these trips. She want to continue to shop on Amazon. Let her have it. Let her have it. Don't trip. Pay attention. Be aware of what's going on, but don't discuss it. Don't mention it. The only thing that you do is give her that sweet loving every time you see her. Enjoy the best of her. The thing that I learned, right? Me and my mom, I'll give you an example, and then I'm going to jump into the Detroit video. The thing that I learned about women is that you enjoy the best of them, and then you remove yourself from the things that don't really matter. Me and my mom, we realized very early we can't live together. We are perfect when we see each other because the only thing I get to see is the best of her. Whatever it is that she got going on after that, that ain't my business. And you need to give her a level of independence. Give your girl a level of responsibility and independence so that she understands that what she does matters. Because as long as she feels like she got that safety net up under her, she's never going to do what she's supposed to do. So effective communication is helping her to understand that her actions have an adverse reaction. There's consequences along to you doing what you want to do. And so this is the first step in enabling your girl to actually be what she's supposed to be, is because you want to let her go. You so afraid that something is going to happen to her, or she going to get out there and fumble, or some dude is going to have her. Listen, if your girl is able to be easily swayed because you're not overseeing her and lording over her 100% of the time and trying to track her movements and stuff, if your girl is able to be easily swayed just because you're not watching her, then she wasn't yours in the first place. If your girl can't get on board with what you're doing without you lording over her, and she don't come to you for instruction on how she's supposed to be moving more effectively, then she not yours in the first place. You're actively vetting her when you're letting her move how she wants to move, but then you're being an example of what you're supposed to be as a man. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I just want to give y'all a little bit of game. I'm not going to go all the way. You need to book a call so I can get your relationship in order. Shout out to Astrosport. Astrosport says, I tried to get a second job as a software engineer. I have an interview. I'm trying to get a second job as a software engineer. I'm assuming that's a typo. As a software engineer, I have an interview with Indeed and Wells Fargo. I'm already a software engineer for Lowe's. Shout out to you. Shout out to Astro Sport getting to that bag. Gotta be a bag chaser when you get in a bag like that. So I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of game and a little bit of insight before we got into the show. I want to get into this whole Detroit thing. Thank you, Astro Sport, for contributing to the platform and making sure that you hold us down. Thank you to everybody that hold us down. I want to get into this Detroit thing. And again, everybody, a lot of people sent me, not everybody, a lot of people sent me this. And again, I was on the fence about whether or not I wanted to talk about this at all. But I do. So as a result, I'm going to make sure that I go about looking at this as objectively as possible, because I don't think that people really understand Detroit, give it a fair shake, or is even aware of what's going on. I'm kind of happy about that, though. I don't like how people speak about the city personally, just because I'm passionate about it. I grew up here. I actually went to school downtown Detroit. I know the city like the back of my hand, every aspect of it, every square mile. I don't like how people do it, but I've learned to remove my emotions, because actually I realize that that's a good thing. People not knowing as much about the city, make sure it don't turn into fucking Atlanta, because everybody in Atlanta ain't even from Atlanta. Most of the people down in Atlanta is not even from Atlanta. They not even from there. And they go in and everybody think that they can take their bad behavior and they move over to somewhere else. And then they go in and they tear all of that up, and then they leave and then they go somewhere else. Eventually, y'all gonna tear everything up, and then you're gonna be going out of the country and tearing that up. So we kind of cool on the idea that we don't really care about if everybody know what we got going on. Just keep your mouth shut. Neither here nor there. You can't control everybody's actions. But I've decided that I want to invest a majority of what it is that I have going on, especially the businesses that I'm continuing to create, the offices that I'm moving down there, the people that I have working within the city. I'm going to be moving into the city as soon as my daughter, or I'm getting a second place down there, but as soon as my daughter graduates high school, I'm going to relocate and have my main residence in the city, as well as one down in Miami. But so much investment. And I said that, you know what? I'm not going to be one of those type of people that continue to claim the city, but is not making a significant investment in it so that I have a stake as to whether or not it's going to grow and be great. So I do want to review the CNBC video and documentary breaking down and having conversations apparently with significant movers and shakers in the city, including councilmen, lieutenant governors. Apparently they got somebody from the Gilbert Foundation and things like that to talk about it. I want to get into this video and I want to give it an objective view of exactly what it is that I think, because I've explored the city and I know exactly what's going on in the city. So I want to see if they've edited this video to actually reflect that. All right. So without further ado, again, hit a like for the YouTube algorithm. Thank you guys for checking me out. Thank you for rocking with me in the morning. You know, I always like to switch it up so that I give you different content every day so that you're surprised and you enjoy, and you're pleasantly growing and becoming the best version of yourself. Again, the link to the Patreon is in the description, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get into the video.
The city of Detroit today stands at a crossroads.
Property values are relatively low. And if we're going to create a city that works for all, now is the time to do it.
After a long cycle of decline, powerful forces are remaking the city piece by piece.
As a Detroit resident, that I want to see the city that I live in really be an amazing place.
We are funding and housing small businesses from across the country.
We have so many projects going on, so there's a lot of noise, a lot of dust.
People are leaving the city. A lot of black people are leaving the city.
What you call redevelopment is really displacement.
These moves could foreshadow the future of America's factory towns.
When a city experiences bad economic times, you see property.
Let me move up so I can see exactly what these people's labels are. I've actually met the lieutenant governor. I met him at a Pistons game. We know mutual people because a buddy of mine that actually got married, and I actually went to his wedding down in Houston, has a deep connection with him. And so, that whole connection is really nice to have a great network, but he's a really cool guy. Don't necessarily agree with all of his politics, but he's a really, really nice guy to have a conversation with.
Values decline. When they decline to a certain extent, developers say, well, it's cheap to buy this, and they buy it and redevelop it. So why didn't that happen in Detroit? That was the big mystery.
Are these new developments good or bad for Detroit? And what do residents think of the changes coming downtown? Detroit, Michigan was once the heart of the American auto industry.
Being on the river, they were a prime location for access to coal from the south and metals from Minnesota. And so it was particularly well located for what was going on in terms of the advent of manufacturing.
Just about 640,000 people live in the city today. That's a huge decline from its heyday.
At its height, Detroit's population was just short of 2 million people. And we have all the infrastructure that reflects that. And now when you have a city that literally houses 1/3 of that population, there are some challenges that exist. You don't have necessarily the same tax base to be able to fund all the infrastructure that's already been existing.
So let's break this down, okay? The additional context is that people used to go up north, and everybody was moving up north because all of the jobs was in the auto industry. Steel in the auto industry. I actually worked for a steel mill that's headquartered in Detroit, right? They used to be called Ford Steel, and then they changed the name to Rouge Steel. When I worked there, it was called Rouge Steel. It was going through a transformation and being bought out by, I believe, a Russian company called Severstal at the time. And it's completely changed. And it was U.S. Steel. They did a partnership, and it's still running. They've done a lot of upgrades. Manufacturing steel for different industries, including the auto industry, was one of the things that was important. So throughout the early 60s, 70s, 80s, all of that, people were migrating up north so that they can get a job at one of the factories. Ford Motor Company, General Motors, Chrysler, so on and so forth. Interestingly enough, Ford's headquarters is in Dearborn, Michigan, which is what we call Metro Detroit. So Metro Detroit is Detroit and then all of its surrounding areas, right? Today, I live in Metro Detroit, which is an area that's outside of Detroit in the suburbs for obvious reasons or whatever. But people that are in Metro Detroit often at times say, I'm from Detroit. Even if they were never born and raised there, they say I'm from Detroit. I lived overwhelmingly the first half of my life in the city. Went to school there. Even my private school that I went to was in the city. Shout out to UAD, University of Detroit Jesuit. I went to an all-boys school, middle school, and then I transferred over into the greatest high school in the city, which is Cass Technical High School. Shout out to my technicians. But people move there for factory jobs. And so as a result, the goal for most of us young people, especially for those that didn't even need or you didn't want to go to college, was to get in the factory, because you can come out right out of high school and you was making upwards of close to $30-something an hour with overtime. I remember the first time that I got into Rouge, right? And it was within my first month of going there. And I was working doubles and I was getting all of the money, right? And it blew my mind because one of the OGs that was there, and he had been there for 30 years, and he had a side chick and, a baby that his chick didn't know about and all of that. He was driving a Lincoln, and he showed me a pay stub, and it said $127,000, and it was his final pay stub from the year before. Now imagine a young dude coming out of high school, going into the factory, realizing that you can make upwards of $100,000, and all of your friends was going over to college and getting a bunch of debt, getting basket weaving degrees. And once you got into it, they would pay for you to go to school. Everybody I knew somebody that worked at Ford, Chrysler, or GM. And this is when I graduated in the 2000s. And this was before the recession and all of the layoffs and everything like that. So I'm giving you a little bit of context of what I seen when I was growing up. And everybody being able to work in a factory and people holding on to those jobs for 30 plus years and retiring, okay?
Around the world came to Detroit to find jobs in car factories.
See?
We think of the assembly line with the automobile, and certainly that's the iconic part of Detroit. But it also turns out that to accommodate this surging population year after year, decade after decade, they also had to essentially develop assembly line tracts of housing. Certainly things peak in 1950.
As global trade became more important in the 20th century, Detroit's economy shrank dramatically. This loss of jobs eventually led to intense cycles of social unrest in Detroit. Deadly riots broke out in the summer of 1967, and people left for the suburbs in droves.
It wasn't that there were just a section here of the city or one over there that had fallen into disrepair, disuse, but it was very widespread, and it was widespread literally in the shadow of some of the largest auto companies on the planet. But with the population leaving, with the infrastructure staying in place, it meant strains on the city. Cumulatively, they started to mount over time.
So the context behind this is, and this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about protests don't work. Rioting does not work. They out there vacuuming outside of they're vacuuming a hallway outside of my place. But so if you hear a little bit of that, ignore it. But this is one of the reasons why I'm so adamant about protests, rioting, and what was happening during the pandemic and the whole George Floyd thing. Regardless of what side of the fence you on, you don't tear up your own stuff. Because what happens is the business owners then get the payouts, right? They get their insurance claims, and then they get the heck up out of there. And so what we call this in Detroit, what happened during the 67 riots when everybody tore their own stuff up and was stupid as piss, is it was called white flight. That began the population decline because then instead of people banding together and saying that we're not going to do the thing that's the worst for us and create food deserts and tear up our own businesses and lower our own property values, all of the people, because at that time, it was mostly white people that were occupying the city, including downtown. You had the Hudson's building, you had Woodward, which was the first paved road in the United States of America. Woodward Avenue was the first paved road in the United States of America. I know my city, I know my history, right? And so what happened was white flight happened. They seen all of the black people that was coming in there tearing up and rioting. They decided, yo, we getting up out of here. We got the money. We getting our insurance payouts. We gone. And so the 67 riots began the decline of the city. And so they would move all out into the suburbs, and they moved all away. And that's when the suburbs started flourishing and blowing up, and Northland Mall got built and stuff like that. And then they would just drive into the city, make the money, and then leave the city. This is what happened, and this was the decline, the start of the decline for the city.
Since the peak, very little has been built. Construction of homes has stalled almost completely since the 1960s.
Look at the 60s, 50s. As soon as you transition over into the 60s, everything just goes downhill. I have not seen this documentary at all. Look at this. This is literally why I tell y'all, why are y'all sitting here complaining and rioting and tearing up and occupying the front of the police stations and tearing up AutoZone and burning down Wendy's? You're tearing your own neighborhoods up.
Over the years, the city earned a reputation for blighted structures and abandoned factories. The city also still has its huge interstate system that was built largely by the federal government.
The Federal Highway Administration and its zeal to, quite frankly, accelerate people getting back and forth from the suburbs to downtowns, put highways all through neighborhoods. and cities all across the country. And invariably, many of those interstate highways cut through neighborhoods heavily populated by Black and brown communities.
It's a sad story because this neighborhood was split and ultimately eradicated by the construction of a freeway called I-375. It destroyed a few neighborhoods, Black Bottom, Paradise Valley, and that really fractured the community. What stands there today is, we have this freeway, which is a very short freeway, but we also have different neighborhoods that, don't exactly look the same. And I grew up in one of those neighborhoods. It's called Elmwood Park, next to the Lafayette Park neighborhood. And so I think for folks there, it's important to be mindful of that history.
Scientists know that the introduction of a freeway can worsen air quality in an area and also increase noise pollution. Local planners say that remaking the highway could create a better quality of life for newcomers. Construction work could kick off by 2027, according to state officials.
It'll be, quite frankly, a landmark opportunity to redress the wrongs of this physical scar in our city.
As we're reimagining how infrastructure supports people and supports life, we have an opportunity to acknowledge that past and build a future that doesn't make the same mistakes.
So this young man right now, and again, he was sitting right next to me at a Pistons game. I believe that he has strong ambitions to one day become the youngest governor. He's the youngest lieutenant governor ever, but he has ambitions to become the youngest governor in the state of Michigan. So as you can tell, he's pretty intelligent. The one thing that I don't necessarily care for is trying to recreate or acknowledge, placing an emphasis on trying to acknowledge what happened in the past in order to drive what it is that you do in the future, because that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You got to remember that Detroit is very, very large. It has the landmass basically of multiple San Franciscos, like 7 San Franciscos you can fit inside of it, right? And so I do think that removing that freeway will make for a better, much more conducive place for people to be able to live, work, and play, because downtown has changed dramatically. It is a completely different place. It is a completely different environment, and people want to live, work, and play all in the same area. One of the things that contributed to the downfall or the blight problem and a continued white flight into the city is A, lack of education, B, public transportation, which is largely founded based off of the idea that we were supporting the big three and all of that. We don't even have tolls here, right? The roads here and the requirements are completely different than the standard set in, for example, Ohio. As soon as you cross the Ohio border, they have much better roads. Why? Because they spend more money on their roads because they don't have a legislative body that's acquiescing over into the big three, which is Ford, Chrysler, and GM historically. Now, you see a lot of these people. Listen, I'm a C student, so you're listening to me break this down from a C student's perspective. You see a lot of these same companies and people that's in the legislative branches now starting to embrace technology more because they need to create an environment where they can recruit workers, and they're starting to lean more into becoming technology companies instead of becoming auto manufacturers, which is something that was piloted by what I call the 4th biggest automaker in the United States, which is Tesla. Tesla is now a U.S. automaker that is a powerhouse, and they've laid the blueprint that you don't need a lot of infrastructure and a lot of people in order to be able to implement certain policies and create a great company. You can lower costs not by not doing everything, but then starting to look at yourself more of as a technology company instead of looking at yourself as just an auto manufacturer, which is one of the reasons why people love Tesla. It is a technology company that put technology first that then does other things better than the people that have been doing it historically. All right, so let's continue.
In the city are more skeptical of the plan.
The redevelopment of an expressway has little to do with the expressway, but who's going to benefit and why at this point is it taking place.
A small but mighty collection of buildings are going up fast in downtown Detroit. At the same time, rents have crept upwards, fueling concerns over gentrification.
The biggest annoyance that I find is that a lot of times the developers are coming in and making you feel like they're saving the neighborhood, whereas we have people that have been here for a long time.
They have some pluses and minuses. Pluses being that there are shops and more interesting things to do in the city and places to go to where you can feel more safe and take your families. Cons would be that a lot of people like myself kind of feel out of place.
Many of the changes underway in Detroit trace back to billionaire investor Dan Gilbert.
Correct.
Here's the executive director of one of his philanthropies.
So back in 2010, Dan made a very intentional decision to bring the family of companies from the suburbs of the city of Detroit to downtown Detroit. Both from a business perspective and from a community perspective, his thought process was, we can make an impact as a business by bringing jobs to the city of Detroit.
The typical job in the city of Detroit pays well, but many of those...
So let's stop there for a second. Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert is very much my hero. I don't look at LeBron James and say, LeBron James. I don't look at LeBron James and say, hey, we should all aspire to be like LeBron James. I say that we should aspire to be like Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert does not get enough credit because people are more concerned with the letter that he wrote to LeBron James for leaving Cleveland for Miami instead of being focused on how he saved an entire city. Yes, Dan Gilbert, in my personal opinion, is one of the spearheads that helped to save and then transform Detroit into what it is today. You got to remember, I went to school and I used to catch the Hamilton bus. For those of y'all that's from the city, you walk from 8 Mile to 7 Mile, you catch the bus on 7 Mile, and you catch it all the way downtown, right? I wasn't baby. I used to catch the Hamilton bus, rain, sleet, or snow, all the way to downtown Detroit. And then even when we would get off of school, or we would skip school, or I would meet my mom for lunch, because at the time that my mom decided that she wanted to get back in the workforce, so she started working for NBD. I don't know if y'all know what NBD is, but NBD, we used to be a bank. They wound up getting bought out and whatever, and it transformed or whatever. But my mom and my uncle used to work for NBD downtown. I used to go down to Greektown and downtown, and it's much, much different today than it was yesteryear. Okay? And this was even before the 2008 recession, when everything got really bad, right? You used to walk downtown and it was like a desert. It was nobody down there. It was, except for the people that worked down there. And it was gritty. It was grimy. It looked like a New York movie from like the 1970s, bro. It was insane. We used to go to school and then we would walk around the block and go to the corner store before we went into school so we can get our little chips and stuff like that. Crackheads everywhere. Everywhere. It was some of the most insane things that we've ever seen in our entire life. Now, all of those places are completely gone. Removed. Finito. Out of there. And Dan Gilbert is one of the people that spearhead what happened down there. What he did was he took the largest mortgage company in the entire United States of America. He invested in places like StockX, and he made their headquarters down in downtown Detroit. He did like Fathead and all of these different companies and so on and so forth. And what he did was he took, they were largely headquartered in the suburbs, and he moved every single worker down to downtown Detroit. And not only that, he incentivized them to buy property and live, work, and play down there, which increased the tax base. It raised the median pay. And then it actually started to spearhead everything that was happening in Detroit, because he created a property development company that bought and rehabbed over 100 different buildings down in downtown Detroit and throughout the Metro Detroit area. And so all of them old, decrepit buildings, those buildings were bought, torn down, or redeveloped to become something awesome today. The Shinola Hotel, where they had the Hudson's building and they imploded it. Now he's building up the skyscraper, which is where me and Rita are looking to move to once it's finished being built within the next couple of years. He is the one that spearheaded everything. Built up everything, bought everything, redid Campus Martius Park, all of these different things. He is the person, he bought Greektown Casino and it was in trouble. He spearheaded everything that was going on. And so I'm largely even got a stroke as a result of all of this stuff. So I am largely appreciative of people like Dan Gilbert. And this is one of the reasons why I say, yo, you can't rock with people based off of the color of their skin. You got to rock with people based off of the content of their character. If a dude can transform an entire city, even if you benefited as a result of it, he didn't have to do it. He was already a billionaire. He largely did a similar thing over in Cleveland. I'm familiar with it. And so I am very, very appreciative of people like Dan Gilbert. And it takes business owners and people that are actually in the trenches that are creating the jobs to transform a city, not the legislative branches, not things that's going on behind the scenes, all of this government asking Biden for handouts. Those are not the people that transform what happens in a city. It's the people that actually move their headquarters and their workers there and the jobs there. And then they are the ones. Listen, the city went from people having good jobs in the auto manufacturing industry to working for Quicken Loans and making $120,000 a year there. Let's continue. Shout out to Marcus. Marcus says, salute Anton, appreciate the content across channels, moving the conversation in the right direction. Thank you, my friend. And I would like to continue to push people to look outside of the echo chamber that they're used to being in so that they can then become more familiar with how they need to move when it comes to looking at things from a business perspective. But let's continue.
Workers commute into the city. Residents of the city earn about $36,000 a year, much less than the national average. Affordability has become a major issue.
We believe in a city where everyone has access to healthy, stable housing. And the city of Detroit, while its property values certainly are going up, the city of Detroit's property values really, if you look at the bigger picture, are still pretty low.
The issues have to do with what's on the market. Just hundreds of homes were built in the city over the past decade, and most were priced above the budgets of the typical Detroiter.
That does make it challenging when providing affordable housing, because even quote unquote resident apartments at 80% of AMI may still appear a little outside the affordability of what many would call the average Detroiter. So that's why some of our developers are trying to make deeper inroads in affordability. Now, the challenge that exists literally today.
So what you see right here is the Michigan Central Depot. I actually explored this building. This building was recently purchased by Ford Motor Company from the Maroon family. The Maroon family is one of the people I believe that it helped spiral the city down into the state that it was, that it eventually claimed bankruptcy, because the Maroon family then took advantage of what was happening at all of the public auctions in Wayne County, because when people were losing their properties, and every single time that, you know, a plot or a piece of land or anything that was next to a house or something downtown, some decrepit building or whatever like that, or a building that wasn't decrepit yet, right? But then it went into disrepair. They would be the ones that were the landlords, because they would buy the properties at a super cheap price and they would just sit on it. They never actually developed or did anything or poured any money back into it. And they have a large fortune largely because they were the ones that overseen and own and run the Ambassador Bridge. And so the only crossing, the major crossing from here into Canada, was through the Ambassador Bridge. So you got these billionaire owners that were buying up all of the properties, such as the Michigan Central Train Depot, where people were in there basically freezing to death and dying and stuff like that. And instead of tearing it down or fixing it back up and putting it on the market, they just sat on it. Eventually, they made a bunch of money. And this is why I say you don't do business with everybody, because it's a difference between the Dan Gilberts and the Maroon family, right? Because they would buy up all of the plots of land, and then they would wait to make sure that they could implement eminent domain, or they can build something there that would benefit the family, or they would drive out their competition and things like that. But they were doing it behind the scenes that prevented the city from actually growing. And they were one of the people that were taking advantage of the disadvantages that happened within the city at that time. But the Ford Motor Company recently bought it, and they're turning this headquarters actually into their technology powerhouse, where they will be doing all of the Ford EV development and things like that. And then the bottom layer is going to be like, you know, all of this retail business, and you can actually go in there, and I can set my offices in there if I want to, WeWork space and all of that type of stuff. So this building is largely being transformed. Do you know that the city had to make them even put windows in the building so it wouldn't tear down and completely destroy everything that was within it? They got more blight tickets as a company than one of any major property developer in the entire city. So shout out to Mike Bowie. Says, I saw this yesterday and immediately thought about you in Detroit. Great content. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. I appreciate the 20 ball and you supporting the platform. Thank you for everybody supporting the platform. So yeah, this is what we're seeing right now, but I want to continue to go through the documentary and I want to see what they got to say. So far, it seems to be pretty unbiased, and it's pretty much an accurate depiction of what was happening in the city throughout the time and why we became what we became.
2022 is that construction costs have gone through the roof over the last 24 months, principally during COVID, and they've not abated really. But it has mitigated our ability to do certain forms of housing.
While this new round of development stretches on, people continue to leave the city. Economists believe that the steady loss of people is ultimately what fueled Detroit's historic bankruptcy. In July 2013, the city of Detroit filed for Chapter 9 municipal bankruptcy.
With the decline of population, that can often come with challenging times for any city. From the city of Detroit's perspective, that meant entering the largest municipal bankruptcy in history. And that meant a lot of challenges for pensioners and for our museums and for our tax base generally.
Detroit's filing contained nearly $18 billion in total liabilities. Economists believe that the city's financing of public services and infrastructure were the primary causes of this funding shortfall.
So the city was seeing its revenues, continue to decline, and the ability to manage that infrastructure, that big scale that was put in place, it wasn't flexible. You had to.
You know what's so funny looking at this picture right here? Because this is actually a new Detroit that you're looking at right here, right? So what you see in this picture is you see Ford Field where the Lions play. You see Comerica Park where the Tigers play. And then what you don't see in this view is Little Caesars Arena where the Pistons and the Red Wings play. I would have you to know that the Lions didn't even play in Detroit. They were named the Detroit Lions, but they were headquartered over in Pontiac. And I actually was one of the last people to explore the Silverdome. The Pistons actually played in Auburn Hills, which was far away, and they didn't even move back into Detroit until recently, probably within the last, 4 or 5 years? Maybe less than that. And it's an awesome stadium and stuff like that. Little Caesars Arena and everything. But all of that is pretty much new. That building all the way at the end is GM's headquarters. That's the Renaissance Center. And then what you see, all of that water, is the bridge between Canada. So they've actually completely redone the Riverwalk, and it's miles and miles and miles long. And then there's this own island called Belle Isle, which is now managed by the state, and it's absolutely phenomenal. So all of this, what you see right here, is relatively new. This is how transformational downtown Detroit has become. But let's continue. Shout out to my dog, Julian Rooks, says, I'm glad you decided to give your perspective and represent. Absolutely, my friend. You know I got to put on for the city, and I got to give them some real insight from what somebody actually that lived there, born and raised, grew up, went to school there, worked there, and is moving back there within the next couple years, putting my business in the city. My business is actually moving into the city by the end of this year, and I'm creating the space, the office space, and the creative spaces. So you got to put your money where your mouth is, and a lot of people are not familiar with what's happening, but let's continue.
Inability to manage that. In a vibrant Detroit, a lucrative pension for city employees
with a large tax base
seemed to make sense. That too then became a burden, something weighing on Detroit until a breaking point was reached.
13 months after the initial filing, Michigan lawmakers provided a bailout loan to the city, ending the bankruptcy.
As the city of Detroit goes, so goes the state of Michigan. So the state of Michigan is going to continue to do everything we can. And our administration, we were not in power when that happened, but our administration has pulled on every stop and taken every opportunity to make sure that the people of the city of Detroit know that we have their back and are going to invest in their communities.
The federal government also funded demolitions of about 50.
You know what's so funny? When you look at this, if I rewind this a little bit, watch this. So this right here, where is he talking at? All that right there, all this right here, these were historic homes. Do you know that all of those homes have already been refurbished and rebuilt? Not only that, that entire area right there is completely filled with homes and condos and apartment buildings and things like that. That entire area right there, you can't even afford to live there anymore because it's directly across the street from Little Caesars Arena, and they've redeveloped that entire place. Dan Gilbert built everything over there. That right there, what you're looking at in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, you can't eat unless you get in that bag. You can't live there no more. And then people will complain about gentrification. But what about what it looked like before somebody actually came in and started putting some money in there? Oh, the people that was there is being displaced. No, they need reinvestment because you have to create a better environment for people to want to live, work, and play. And you know what the big thing about this is? You know what the tripped out part about this is? Shout out to the Artifacts podcast. Says Anton Daniels for president. Oh, I'm gonna take over this country. You know what the funniest part about this is? You know who all live there now? White people. Asians and white people are the people that I see more often than not that are moving in this area right there that's being rebuilt. The majority of the people that live downtown is college students and white people, Asians, and then you got a sprinkle of me in there. We'll come down there and party, but we largely moved out to Southfield and all of that other type of stuff. White people live there down now. They are the ones that actually went in, they left, and they let all of the black people tear it up. It was ran by black corrupt city council members. The mayor got indicted and all of that. Now it's all white people. When you walk downtown now, you go into Greektown, you go walk downtown in Midtown, you go to Hopcat, you head over down to the Detroit Opera, you go to, Prime and Proper, you go to a Red Wings game, you go and do a Pistons game. They don't get in their cars and drive home. Now they walk home. They catch the Q line, which is new. Black people fought against public transportation, improving public transportation, but you got the Q line now. They jump on the Q line and they go home. They don't even drive no more. They walk home.
The federal government also funded demolitions of about 15,000 blighted structures in Detroit.
15,000, that's true.
Bankruptcy and national housing crash. Bailouts for 2 of the 3 largest automakers prevented even bigger losses of local jobs.
Right now we're still coming out of that a bit. And also many of the families have moved away to some of the neighborhoods adjoining us. That puts some challenges on our public school system.
In the 4 state budgets that Governor Whitmer and I have negotiated and passed on a bipartisan basis, we've invested more in K-12 education than ever in the history of the state of Michigan. That means more money for Detroit Public Schools Community District, the largest school district in the state, are seeing more investments in their school buildings, more investments in the education professionals who support them, and more investments in the resources that are available to them as learners so that they can be positioned to be successful. And we think that those kind of foundational investments, in addition to the infrastructure investments that we've talked about, we think that that really sets the table for the city to be supported and to go forward and to thrive.
Detroit today has turned many things around by raising taxes. New revenue is coming in from internet gaming.
That's what it looks like down there right now. What you're looking at right here is the street in front of Comerica Park. See all of the Tigers from the Detroit Tigers? This is what downtown is starting to look like now. And then people will complain, oh no, they come in and they building everything up and they transforming the city and Anton want to move his offices down there and things like that. No, this is what we need. We need for a continual development. And listen, the city is big enough for you to go and find your spot if you still want to be there. If you don't, then get the fuck out of there because you're not paying no taxes anyway if you're complaining about it. But the point that I'm making is that we need to continue to have this type of transformation that was spearheaded by Dan Gilbert, and then the Illages took advantage of it. They wasn't as egregious as the Maroons, but they getting their money too. But this is what's happening in downtown Detroit right now.
And sports betting. The city has also been accused of inflating property value assessments to extract more cash from its citizens. In response, the city told CNBC that the effective tax rates in the city are high because there's a large number of low-value properties around town. Some of this public money could end up going back to companies like Bedrock Detroit, which is controlled by the billionaire Dan Gilbert. In July 2022, one of his new buildings downtown received a $60 million tax abatement from Detroit's city council.
My new home, yay, is literally going to be in the heart of the city, right in the middle. This is where me and Rita will be living. We will be living in the new Hudson's building. It is going to be absolutely awesome. But they are literally putting billions and billions and billions of dollars on constructing and building up these properties. And it looks absolutely awesome.
Bedrock's CEO told CNBC the decision from the city council was consistent with decisions for other major developments within Detroit, given the city's significant tax rates. Dan Gilbert's philanthropic spending has rippled through Detroit, earning him both supporters and opponents.
Dan Gilbert doesn't need a $60 million tax abatement to build this building.
This is what black people will say. Did you hear? And nothing like a strong black woman to tell us what we supposed to be doing with our money. Come on, let's hear her say it again.
Dan Gilbert's philanthropic spending has rippled through Detroit, earning him both supporters and opponents.
Dan Gilbert doesn't need a $60 million tax abatement to build.
Nothing like a strong black woman to tell us what we need. Listen, one of the reasons why we're in the state that we in is because we let strong black women that was running the city council in the city of Detroit tell us what we were supposed to be doing with our money in the first place. No, listen, you give Dan Gilbert that $60 million tax abatement because he's brought in literally tens and tens of thousands of jobs, and he's spending multiple billions of dollars to build new buildings and bring more jobs into the city. Shut the fuck up and please be quiet, because the benefits that come along with having a stronger tax base and more people. And see, this is why you shouldn't count people's pockets. This is why you should not count people's pockets, because don't know what the fuck you talking about. You got all of your what is those what is these Tiffany bracelets? What are those Pandora bracelets? Ma'am, please let Dan Gilbert have the fucking keys to the city. The dude absolutely turned it around single-handedly. Jesus Christ. Be quiet, ma'am.
This building.
It is a big business and it's a handout to a big business, but it supports many small businesses.
And you see the nice older white man? Listen, it is a big business, but listen, we all benefiting from it. The construction workers, the businesses that they support, all of the contractors, everybody is eating off of Dan Gilbert. Let that man do what he do. Please, ma'am, be quiet with your stiff neck. Shout out to Sir Shad, says Raiders and Warriors left because of liberals. Can't stand these people, bro.
Detroit's financial future remains uncertain moving forward. A budget assessment from 2022 includes a doozy in the footnotes. City revenues could fall short of spending by 2027. The city says that these are conservative estimates and that it will continue to exercise spending restraint. As inflation sets in, many people living downtown could face insurmountable price hikes.
I'll pay it.
We can do this in a way that doesn't bring about displacement.
I'm willing to pay it.
Encourages and enables people to stay in the place the neighborhood they live in and the neighborhood they want to live in, and not be forced to move somewhere else because their home or their community or their block is no longer there.
The city is diversifying into new
Look
fields
at that.
while
This is what the city looks like now. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Illages. Thank you, business owners. Thank you, small businesses that continue to contribute to the city. This is where I walk around on a regular basis, and I'm filming and I'm blogging and I'm dropping a lot of my videos and stuff now. Much different than the abandoned buildings that I was The same street was fucking abandoned when I was walking through high school. And now you got to come. In my lifetime, before I turned 40, they transformed the entire Midtown, Corktown, downtown, Greektown area into being something completely awesome that people want to live, work, and play in, and it's fucking full on the weekends. And then this woman want to go ahead and slow us down. Ma'am, please stay in your place. Do not contribute to the conversation. We don't want to hear what you got to say. And this is the problem with having people voted in by the people, because they're a representation. Nothing. Let me stop. Shout out to Persevere Data TV, says, taking gentrification out of my vocabulary. If you don't eat your cookies, someone else with a bigger appetite will. Facts. Shout out to Sir Shad, says, downtown Detroit was amazing. Better than Oakland. Sir Shad just visited. He said downtown Detroit was amazing. Better than Oakland. But a lot of people don't want to, you will sit there and you listen to these narratives and people just talking all of this fucking shit. They don't know. They have no clue because they don't know what's going on down here. And I'm more than willing and happy to pay the price hike, because you know what it does? It filters out the foolishness. It gets rid of all of the people that don't need to be there. Downtown needs to be a place where people can thrive, live, play, work, have a good time, go to baseball games, go to concerts and all of this other type of stuff, do all of the conferences and stuff like that. It's not meant for dusties.
A strong blue-collar workforce, which could promote economic stability. With any luck, these new plans will help officials avoid repeating the city's worst mistakes.
Detroit was world famous. For it to decline meant that something can happen to a city that, was a beacon of progress, of growth globally.
You can see the parts where people are still being left behind and just not being told of what's going on, so people don't really get the sense of pride.
Cap, let me tell you what's really happening, young man. These same people that need to be given a sense of pride, they don't go to the community meetings. They're not at the city council meetings. They're not participating. They don't even turn out to vote during the midterm elections. They don't vote for the mayor. Listen, the voter turnout rate for the overwhelming majority of the city, you know who the majority of the people that actually vote in the city is in the higher income neighborhoods, the Sherwood Forests, the Boston Edison district. Yeah, it's not just in downtown. It's not just in downtown. They are the ones that are contributing to the coffers of Detroit and willing to pay the taxes to anchor the whole city and make sure that we continue to build and have progress. We not messing around with no dusties no more. Get them on up out of there.
People looked at the city of Detroit and just saw the bankruptcy because it was something different and strange. But once you look past that, you see people who are really fighting every day to make their community the best place it possibly can be.
A lot of people, I think, are still fearful of coming down here. I think you have to come down and look for yourself.
We've got a lot of things coming. The city is buzzing. When it comes to the city of Detroit, you can either be here or you can hear about it.
You can be here or hear about it. I like that. All right, I think that was a fair assessment. I have no problem with what was happening there. I think that was a fair assessment. So listen, you guys asked me to check out the video. I checked it out. I reviewed it. I think it was a good assessment of what was going on, and it painted an accurate picture of where things were and where things are going. I am personally moving my my new offices down in downtown Detroit. So I just signed my letter of intent today, and we should start construction within the next 2 weeks, and then we should be done within the next 2.5 months. So I am going to be doing all of my content creation, my offices. We're going to be running all of the merch and the websites and all of the web development out of the new offices. For the Patreon members, you guys are familiar with what's going on. You know what it is that I've got going on. I even recently dropped a video giving you guys some insight and letting you pick between what offices you wanted me to go to based off of what I was showing you. I got a couple other options on the table too, but I've already kind of selected where it is that I want to be, and we're going to be doing some awesome things down there. So again, make sure you tap into the Patreon. The link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. If you need to kick it with me personally, email me, antondaniels413@gmail.com. We're not talking about it no more. We actually taking over, and we're going to be investors in what transformation really looks like. Now, when I say rep my city, you can know exactly what it is that I'm repping, because although I have a lot of real estate in Metro Detroit, now we're going to take back over the inner city. We're going to buy our blocks back. We're going to build some tiny homes. We're doing a lot of things. So shout out to my bag chasers, Patreon members. You guys will be at the forefront of what it is that we're doing here. I'm building a new, well, I can't say that part. So again, make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. So now I want to pivot over a little bit now that we've watched that. And I want to get into, and I'm really starting to like these videos. So I'm going to get back into the millennial money a little bit. But right now, let me pivot and talk about how I spent my first $1 million. And so this is a wide receiver with the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe. And he's going to talk about exactly how he spent his $1 million. And I'm curious as to how these young men that are largely coming out of college, how they're moving and they're finessing, because we know on average, the average football player is broke within 5 years of leaving the league. All right. So I want to get into this video. I think that this will be a good review. And so let's go ahead and tap into it. No wasting.
Another thing I spent a lot of money on was shoes.
Oh, Jesus.
The Butler.
I have not seen this video. He picked the right ones. Them dope though.
What's good, GQ? It's McCole Hartman. This is how I made, saved, and spent my first $1 million.
What's his name? McCole? I'm going to give him an objective view before I start going in. I want to see how things is going. You can't judge a book by its cover. It has nothing to do with its chain or anything. I want to see what's happening here, guys. McCole Hartman.
I'm from Bowman, Georgia. Born and raised. You know, it's like a country town. Growing up in Bowman, Georgia, it's fun. It's small. Not everybody around. Everybody know everybody. My time in Georgia really went by fairly quickly, honestly. But my hometown was 30 minutes away. Literally like a straight shot. Take a left turn, and you there. If I needed to go home and do anything, I could go home. go see my mom, see my pops, see anybody of that nature. And so it was good, and your family want to come to the games. It was easy for them to get to the games. It wasn't far away.
You know, the thing that I like about these guys is that although they be fumbling the bag a lot of times with their first million when they say what they spent, I will say it seemed like a lot of these guys are humble and they were raised in a good program, or they have a good foundation. You know, you can be bragging and you can be talking your talk, but at the same time, they seem like they're good people and that they don't, seem egregious at all. So I like this guy so far.
The draft was, I don't say it was hard. I always told myself, like, I want to do 3 years in college and go. Kind of knew that I was going to go second round, so we kind of get everybody together, had like a little get together. That's when I got the phone call from Veach. He told me what it was, and just enjoyment from there. Signing a contract that changed your life is crazy to think about, because coming where I'm from, financially being like stable, then everything really wasn't a thing. Paycheck to paycheck, or we're gonna be able to do this, or we're gonna be able to pay this. I'm not saying that growing up that way was like hard, but it was at times difficult and frustrating. So whenever you get a chance to kind of like change your life overnight, it was a great feeling to sign that paper and knowing like things gonna be different from here on out.
The thing about it is that most people that grow up in the hood and live paycheck to paycheck, or even grow up in a lower to middle class family, don't even really know that they poor. And I dropped a video the other day, and I was saying that you don't really know what you don't know because you're not exposed to what money really looks like. And actually managing money once you get money is much more difficult than trying to get it and getting your first million, the part that they don't tell you. And you know what people were sending me? Anton, I don't like the fact that you brag. Anton, you get on my nerves. What are you trying to do, son? I'm just like, fuck. Listen, I got a Porsche. I'm going to drive it. I'm going to record in it. That's what I bought it for, content creation. I got watches. I got all of that. But a lot of people, they have this poor mentality and this poor mindset. And even when you in it, you grow up in it and you don't know any better. So you think that you're just okay, but you don't realize that you was poor as hell until you get up out of it. And so that's kind of what I've translated him in saying what he just said, as far as we was living paycheck to paycheck, but it wasn't that bad.
Very, very emotional moment. You can see the details of my rookie contract here.
All right, let's break this down. All right, so this is not a lot of money, y'all. Drafted second, 56th overall in the 2019 draft. 4-year, $5 million contract, basically received a $1.6 million signing bonus. Now, people corrected me on the last one when my man said that he basically signed for 30 million or 20 something million or whatever. People corrected me on the last one and said that no, the signing bonus was a part of the contract. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to assume that the signing bonus is just a portion of the contract. And so you get basically 1.6 million up front, but that's a part of the $5 million contract, right? So let's just take $5 million and let's break that down, because $5 million is not a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money when you think about the fact that you have no intangible skills to carry you after you get out of the NFL. You don't know if you're going to get injured. You don't know if you're going to get released. You don't know anything, right? And so you don't know if you're going to get that second big contract. You don't know anything. So you have to assume when you first make your $5 million, right? Look, that's a lot of money in time. People don't even see a mill. Think about what I'm saying, bro. Think about hear me out. You get $5 million, right? For 4 years, which means that you got to take out your agent fees, which is probably close to 10 to 15%. And you got to get taxes. And since you're in the highest tax bracket, you might as well chop it in half for taxes. So now you're talking about $2.5 million, right? And you got to pay your agent fees. And I believe the agent fees is off of the initial amount, not the amount that you got left after taxes, right? So now let's just say, for example, you got to give $500,000 over to your agents and stuff because they negotiated your contract. And so now you left with $2 million, which is the equivalent of $500,000 a year over a 4-year period. Think about what I'm saying. $500,000 a year over a 4-year period, and you're going to spend $1 million of it. You had to pay taxes, you had to pay fees, you had to pay all of this. And we making an assumption here. $500,000 over a 4-year period. I pay myself $100,000 a month. That's not a lot of money. And you also have to take into consideration that whatever it is that you make, and let's say you get injured, you get released, this has to carry you. You're 20, 21 years old. This has to carry you, hopefully, if you invest it correctly, for the rest of your life. We're talking about inflation. We're talking about the fact that he's probably going to live, hopefully, another 60 years. When we start to break this down, you start to realize, oh, this is how dudes go broke 5 years after they get out of the league. Neither here nor there, but let's continue.
So we talked about how I made my first $1 million. Let's talk about how I spent my first $1 million. First thing I did was I bought my mom a house.
As usual.
$300K, house for my mom. I think it meant everything, you know, just give her something different. Being able to do that, I know she felt great about it. I mean, my dad too, though. You know, my mom and my dad still together, so I know they both, you know, equally just love.
That's not entirely a bad thing, right? Because it's not like he bought $1 million house. He bought a $300,000 house, and he always gonna have that as equity. So it's an appreciating asset. So that's not a bad move. The problem comes is when people start to pull the equity out of the house in order to be able to do what they want to do with it. But him buying his mom, a $300,000 house is not that bad because A, it's not that expensive to where you can't afford the property taxes. And then B, that's always going to be an appreciating asset. So I'm not entirely mad about that. I'm not mad at that at all.
About it in good neighborhood, good place to be. So I know I definitely was excited. She cried, so obviously, you know, did something right.
That's not that bad. That's not a big deal. It's real estate. Here we go. Here come the buffoonery.
Next person, so I got my dad a Scat Pack challenge.
Typical hood dudes.
I think like 60,000 with some extra work into it. Then I got my mama, since you know she got grandkids and stuff. I got her like a Durango is like around what, 40, like another 40,000, somewhere around there. Jesus. Pay for those, and then myself.
That's 100,000. He bought his mom and his dad cars. 100. So though the house wasn't enough, he bought some depreciating assets. This is where the coonery come in. Another $100,000.
I got me a red-eye Hellcat, which was 100,000.
Jesus Christ.
With additional work put in, which is like another 30,000.
So that's another.
And then I do have a Jeep, 25,000, but I put an extra 10 on it, customization and everything on that. So that's kind of like the cars that I got.
Look at that POS.
Oh yeah.
Look at that POS, y'all. Look at that POS. And if you know what POS is, you know what you know. Look at that POS. This dude spent over close to $70,000 on cars. Oh my God. Let this be a lesson. Let your assets pay for what it is that you want to do and not go out and buy depreciating assets after you pay your taxes on the money that you had to trade your time in for. This is very, very bad.
Yellow interior, red stitching, got my name and logo on the side of it. I did that. Neon lights all around, neon lights in the car, stars in the ceiling.
You got you a fake Rolls. Okay.
Changed the fenders on it, changed the bumpers, lifted it up like 4.5 inches, you know, 22 inches, you know, well, my real 22, 24, maybe 24. Cars.
Jesus. So now $565,000 just on a crib and some cars. And the crib was for his mama. 2 of the cars was for the mama and the daddy. And then he bought 2 POSs for himself. Boy, oh boy. Do we not need some financial literacy? We need financial literacy more than ever. Jesus be offense. Shout out to my dog.
Another thing Jeff. I spent a lot of money on was shoes.
Jesus.
Your butler.
Shout out to my dog Jeff.
Thank you, sir. So I always never said I spend $1,000 on shoes, like just a pair of shoes. I never do that. So now
Don't
I probably
wear 'em.
have
Don't wear 'em.
20 pair of shoes that's probably over $1,000, honestly. So if that is the case, it's like what?
Don't wear them.
20,000 for shoes, for those expensive shoes. And now I have like maybe another 100 pair, 200 pair of like just ones alone. If you're calculating like all the ones together, like another 10,000 on those.
First of all, his calculations is wrong. First of all, your calculations are wrong. Secondly, if you're buying sneakers, now I am a sneakerhead. I got a bunch of sneakers right all up and down the walls, right? Do not wear them. A. B. Let them appreciate. One of the things that I showed y'all in one of the videos that I recently made is that I make 50 on average on most of my sneakers that I sell, and I got my daughter running the business. I make almost a 50% profit based off of the business model. And I'm actually dropping a video on the Patreon probably within the next 2 weeks of how I'll run my sneaker company for those of you that are interested. You do not wear sneakers that you buy and you pay a premium for. You let them continue to appreciate. You enjoy them, looking at them. You use them as art. You be able to write them off as a tax incentive because you do run a sneaker business. And then you sell them at a profit. You don't wear these shoes. This is a problem. Freaky Jason. This dude spending $30,000 on sneakers. Thank you, Jordan Smith says, my contribution to the plate image, if the Lapeef Network converted the panel to having conversations like these instead of pandering about how black women won't submit, we need these conversations. We give it all. We got to give people a multiple different options for them to be able to be successful in these conversations. We give it all.
No. Probably like another 20,000.
Jesus.
Probably spent about like a total of 40 to 50,000 on shoes.
He don't even
I got
know.
a lot of shoes.
Who's his accountant? This budget is horrible. Horrid.
Couple vacations. I took a vacation to LA.
He went to LA. Los Angeles. Let's see how much he spent on it.
So I got this big old trip like in Beverly Hills. Like it was like freaking 6,000 a night or something like that. It just was some crazy thing. And I always wanted to go to LA and just go to Beverly Hills and do whatever. So I was there for like maybe a week. I spent maybe like 20,000 on the trip. Maybe.
Shout out to all of the Airbnb people that's getting the bags off of these dumb athletes.
Just like stand there. Don't know why. 20,000.
He don't even know why. He don't even know why he was there. This is so foolish. Hopefully he don't be on the next edition of ESPN's 30 for 30 broke, man. This is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard in my life.
Stand there. And then I went to a couple clubs. I think I ended up spending like maybe a total of 15, 20,000 in the club one night.
Is he trolling? So you went to the club for one night, you spent money on overpriced beer and liquor. You spent money on a couch that probably haven't even been cleaned so you can stand on it and go, hey. And he spent 20,000 on that. Are we witnessing history repeat itself over and over and over and over and over again? They don't learn from the mistakes of the people that came before him. Nice guy, very, very bad with his money. And you know what the worst part about this is? They get used to living his lifestyle, and so they then depend on what it is that they make to support their lifestyle, and you can't sustain it for the rest of your life. I don't hear nothing about investments. I don't hear nothing about making sure that you putting your money up for, starting this new business, that you're looking at things from I don't see even a tax write-off anywhere in this conversation.
20,000 the other night. It's kind of like just a splurge trip right there. I think I ended up spending another 10,000 on on the chef that was cooking the whole week. I had like a lot of people with me. Then another vacation, I went to Mexico. I think I paid for all exclusive trip was like maybe like 10 people. So that was like 20,000 at the time. There going places. I think I spent like another 10,000. It wasn't that much, like 10,000, and that's a couple vacations that I took. So yeah. Oh.
I don't even know how to react to this. I don't know what to say to this. This is egregious. This could quite possibly be one of the most egregious things that I've seen in my entire life. This is insane. Shout out to my dog, The Service USA. Says stopping by to show love and get these likes up. Get the likes up, ladies and gentlemen. This is insane, y'all. Why is he spending $10,000 on a personal chef when you got DoorDash? Fuck. Hey, this is insane. I've never seen something like this before. Oh, now we're going to get to the savings in the last part.
So the rest of this million, I dibble and dabble, but majority I saved a little bit. You know, when you spend some, you gotta save some. Just, for the long run.
He didn't invest it, he saved it. He didn't invest it, he saved it. Think about that. Which means that his money, first of all, you're going to continue to dibble and dabble in it. And then secondly, your money is losing value based off of the rate of inflation because it's becoming less valuable every single day. At least he put it up.
For guys entering the league, when you make money, like, I know it's gonna be overwhelmed. Like you feel like you get anything in the world.
Listen to this bad advice.
But just know it don't last long, and the more you spend, the more you just see it. It goes down as fast. So, I think the best thing is get you a financial advisor that you trust, budget very well, and you'll be just fine.
That has to be a joke. That has to be the funniest thing that I've seen him say, bro. This dude, get you a financial advisor. And I know it's going to cost you. Bro, stop it, bro. Stop it. Shout out to Brock with the fireball. I appreciate you, my daily pass of love offering. Thank you, Brock, for holding down on the platform. My guy, Nicholas Virgil, says, I find it interesting that most athletes have everything but an accountability partner. He need a coaching session. This is insane. Look at us. See, Anton signed the latest the latest letter of intent. See that? Attached is this draft. This is my lady. That's here. Maybe y'all can see it a little bit more if I go out of here. Thing. There you go. That's my letter of intent. Oh shoot. Maybe y'all can see it a little bit there. It's my letter of intent getting back to me. It's going to be a great time. We got a great creative suite that's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully, I can invite all of my bag chasers to come back to the offices and see how we create. And I could take you through a real life journey of what that's like. Tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. I hope y'all have a phenomenal Wednesday. We are doing great things. Thank you, friends, for continuing to rock with me. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. Brock, my dog, said, and this is for the building fund. Thank you, Brock. Thank you for holding me down. Listen, you need to get a coaching call, Kobe. I'm waiting on you, bro. Listen, don't fumble the bag and do not look to these athletes for inspiration as to how it is that you're supposed to live your life and spend your money. It's all full of foolishness, man. Listen, I thought it was a great show today. But we got another show coming tonight. Q&A coming tonight. We doing big things. We're going to continue to run the checkup. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Listen. If nobody told you today, I'm going to tell you right now. I love you. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. If you need to kick it with me personally, email me at antondaniels413@gmail.com and we're going to get you popping. But I need you to do me one more favor before we get up out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you tell your family and friends We don't want to be rich by ourselves, but we're going to continue to run the checkup and we're going to continue to do what we do on a regular basis. And you know what that is? Add value to your life. Because through all of the foolishness and through all of the entertainment, it always got to come back to the money. Hit a like on your way out the door. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notification bell. And then I'm going to see you guys later. I love you guys. Peace.